morning. I'm Deirdre Fitzpatrick.
And I'm Mike Cherry. Thank you so much for joining us. Teo has a much-deserved week off.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, so hopefully he's sleeping in
Guarantee it.
All right.
Guarantee he is not watching.
Oh, boy. Well, thank you to those who are. And what's the forecast look like, Tamara?
Yeah, and it's a good morning to sleep in. It's kind of cool outside. We've got the cloud cover, and I know for myself, when I see that it's kind of cloudy and gray and cool, I like to stay under the sheets a little longer, right? Temperatures are in the mid-40s right now at 45 in the capital city. We're taking a live look right now across Rancho Cordova. So for folks that are getting after the start of their Tuesday, maybe driving along Highway 50, fog not too bad. In fact, the areas around Sacramento County tending to be basically fog free. Where you're going to find some of the fog this morning in the valley is going to be in spots like Stockton and off towards Modesto. As we go along in the next couple of hours, we'll have calm winds, partly cloudy skies, low 50s by lunchtime, daytime highs today. Very similar to yesterday for Christmas Day, where we got into the upper 50s. A few scattered clouds out there. We will see these high clouds brush across the skies through the afternoon with just some limited sun breaks, a lot like yesterday. Do expect those clouds to thicken up though as we head through the overnight hours, and then signs of pattern change come in on Wednesday. Right now I'm tracking the fog through Modesto down to less than a mile. We're at about a mile right now in Stockton. And here's the view if you're joining us from the foothills. This is the view from Colfax, so along Interstate 80. Definitely seeing more drivers out there on this Tuesday morning. Maybe it's right back to business today, this day after Christmas. We're in the mid-50s by lunchtime, upper 50s by the afternoon. And again, the foothills in the valley, we'll expect some rain by tomorrow. I'll time that out for you coming up in a bit. Mike, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Tamara. The city and county of Sacramento have some centers open for people to get out of that cold weather. Another respite center is also open at the City of Sacramento's Outreach and Engagement Center. It's open through 8 this morning. It can support 50 people and their pets. While the Warren E. Thornton Youth Center gym in Sacramento will be open through 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. That location can accept pets, but they do have to be crated indoors and leashed when outside.
The U.S. has carried out airstrikes against Iranian-backed militia groups. That less than 13 hours after 3 U.S. service members got injured during a drone attack in Iraq. KCRA3's Amy Lou is in Washington now with what officials are saying about what happened.
Well, U.S. Central Command says that the strikes targeted 3 sites in Iraq, destroying facilities and likely killing a number of Hamas-aligned militants. President Biden directed the strikes last night after learning of the attack in northern Iraq from Iranian-backed militia group Hezbollah. The White House writing, quote, "The president places no higher priority than the protection of American personnel serving in harm's way. The U.S. will act at a time and in a manner of our choosing should these attacks continue." U.S. forces have been facing escalating threats in the Middle East ever since the October 7th Hamas invasion of Israel. In Washington, I'm Amy Lou, KCRA 3 News.
U.S. officials have blamed Iran for funding and training Hamas-aligned militant groups who have carried out attacks against commercial ships in international waters in that region.
In Gaza, the Hamas-controlled health ministry says the death toll has now surpassed 20,000 since October 7th, when Hamas unleashed a brutal attack against Israel. This comes on the heels of an especially deadly 24 hours in Gaza on Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. Now, as of yesterday, the Hamas-run health ministry said at least 250 people had been killed, 500 others injured over the previous 24 hours in central Gaza. Israel's military said it was reviewing reports of a Sunday strike at a refugee camp. A close confidant of Israel's prime minister says he's expected to meet with Mr. Biden, or with Biden administration officials rather, today. Egypt also now floating a plan to end the war.
So while Israel and Hamas don't seem to be on board, they also haven't completely ruled it out. The plan is calling for a phased hostage release and the formation of a Palestinian government of experts to run the Gaza Strip and the occupied West Bank. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hasn't commented directly on the proposal, but he did tell members of his party that the war is not close to finished. Hamas says that it will not negotiate without an end to the aggression.
Let's give you a live look outside state capitol, where dozens of people spent their Christmas raising awareness about the conflict in Gaza. Their message declaring that Christmas is canceled. They showed a display also seen in Sacramento's sister city of Bethlehem. That was a replica of baby Jesus under rubble, meant to showcase the destruction in Gaza. Bethlehem is in the West Bank and did not host its traditional Christmas festivities.
I think that the bombing of churches, the bombing of schools, the bombing of hospitals is completely unwarranted and should not be okay. Collective punishment is not okay. Yes, things happened on October 7th, and unfortunately there were hostages taken, there were lives that were taken, but that does not mean that 2.2 million people have to pay the price for that.
Organizers also filled out cards asking for a ceasefire. They'll be sending that to Governor Newsom and other local, state, and federal lawmakers.
In Sacramento, a cyclist is dead after being hit by a driver believed to be under the influence. It happened yesterday morning after midnight on East Commerce Way near Park Drive in the Natomas area. Cyclist died at the scene of that crash. The driver was taken to the hospital for injuries, but is expected to be arrested and face DUI charges once released. The identity of the cyclist at this point has not been released.
A Christmas Day fire has left a man and child injured and without a home. Sacramento firefighters responded at around 5:30 yesterday evening to a back unit within a house on Acacia Drive, or Avenue rather. Crews found fire and heavy smoke. The man and child were taken to the hospital after being found unconscious. Firefighters tell us that they did wake up on the way to the hospital.
Our heart goes out to these victims. It's just a very unfortunate circumstance at any time, but especially around Christmas time.
Now, crews were able to knock down the fire before it could spread to other units. Sacramento Fire says it does not appear the unit had working smoke detectors. The cause and origin is under investigation.
Meanwhile, Stockton police are investigating a shooting that they say left a teenager hurt. This happened at around 5:15 yesterday on Finland Avenue. Police say that the 15-year-old was walking in the area when somebody in a car drove by and shot him. He was taken to the hospital. And police say right now there is no description of that suspect.
The owner of an award-winning Yuba County winery is facing a major lawsuit. It claims that the nonprofit religious group that runs it is really a cult and has abused its members. 6 men filed this lawsuit Friday against the Fellowship of Friends, its founder, Robert Earl Burton, and its winery. The civil complaint seeks damages for 15 alleged violations. Now, those include gender violence, human trafficking, sexual assault, and emotional distress. The last plaintiff left in 2008. The 6 plaintiffs are asking for a trial by jury.
Well, a man is being called a hero after saving his wife from their burning home in South Sacramento. It all happened just before 4 o'clock Sunday morning on Rotherton Way. It's near Center Parkway and Mack Road. The fire started in a back bedroom of that house, and it spread through the house. Sacramento Fire says that a man was able to carry his wife from the home. She was taken to a burn hospital, and she is now recovering. The man then went back into the house to save his dog. Neighbors say he was not hurt at all, and they say people who know the couple say that they're just thankful that the kids who live there were not home.
I'm just glad that they were not there. That was my thing, that they were not here when it happened, because who knows if he would have been able to get all of them out.
That's why I'll get on
the home was badly damaged. It is not inhabitable. The cause of the fire is under investigation.
Well, after a one-day lull in activity at malls and shopping centers, we expect the crowds to return today as they make those returns of holiday gifts. KSERI 3's Melanie Wingo is joining us now from Delta Shore Shopping Center. And Melanie, there are a few things people should know before they try to take things back.
Yeah, yesterday was all about opening the gifts, and today will be all about returning some of those gifts that perhaps missed the mark. That's why retail analysts are sharing with shoppers and people making those returns some important things to remember if they're going to be making those returns today. They want us to think about how some stores have made return windows more flexible to account for early holiday deals and more lag time between gift purchasing and gift giving. But because of an uptick in return fraud in recent years, some stores are adding restrictions.
A lot of return fraud. So retailers will ask for an ID, even if you have a receipt. So it's really important to make sure you have your ID, any kind of receipt, whether it's gift or original, and the original packaging, which will make your return a lot smoother.
And according to Consumer Reports, if you're not entirely sure you plan to keep a gift, don't remove the tags or rip the packaging. You might incur a restocking fee, which would be up to 15% of what was paid for the gift if the packaging is not intact. And for items purchased online, some retailers that have brick and mortar stores will allow you to make those returns in person. Even if you purchase the gift online, that will help you avoid the restocking and repackaging fees associated. Now, coming up at 6:30, we will have some very important return by dates to remember if you have a few items you need to take back to the stores today. Reporting live at Delta Shores, Melanie Wingo, KCRA 3 News.